Hello and welcome to Rob Watches, where I take a look at the latest animated movies and TV shows. And today we're going to be looking at the latest addition to the Transformers franchise, Transformers Robots in Disguise. Which, by the way, is not the worst title for a Transformers show. Really? Transformers Animated? Was that the best they can do? Speaking of which, this is the first Transformers show since Transformers Animated to air on Cartoon Network. As you may recall, the hub kinda went away and has now become Discovery Family, although a lot of their shows are still being shown on Discovery Family. You got your My Little Pony, your Littlest Pet Shop, Pound Puppies, etc. And this one found its way to Cartoon Network. I've been kind of thinking about the lineup of Hasbro shows on Discovery Family, and to me, it doesn't really make a lot of sense, because they'll have those shows and then they'll show like Discovery programming, and then they'll show Batman and Robin and the Karate Kid and a bunch of other random movies. It's kind of a random network, really. They just show all kinds of strange things. I feel like maybe the Hasbro programming is not going to be there permanently. I think maybe Cartoon Network should have just swooped in and taken the whole package. But I suppose they didn't want to put too many things on their already cramped schedule. After all, we need a lot more reruns of Teen Titans Go! So Transformers Robots in Disguise has some pretty big shoes to fill, because the last incarnation of Transformers, Transformers Prime, although I think Rescue Bots came afterwards, although does anybody really count that? Anyway, Transformers Prime was a great show. Like, it quickly became one of my favorite shows ever. Like, it's probably in my top 10. I never thought I'd say that about a Transformers show, but it was so good. Although Robots in Disguise is actually a sequel to Prime, I'm assuming this takes place far into the future, because when we last left Transformers Prime, the planet of Cybertron was still kind of dead, and there was only a couple of the Autobots there. And now in Transformers Robots in Disguise, it's a bustling, lively city as it once was. So it turns out Bumblebee is now a member of the Cybertronian police force, but Optimus Prime's ghost shows up. Yes, his ghost, because if you remember, well, spoilers by the way, if you remember at the end of Transformers Prime, Optimus Prime had to sort of give up his life force to get Cybertron to live again. But he's back now, apparently. It's great hearing Peter Cullen as Optimus Prime, as always. But he appears to Bumblebee and says that he has to go back to Earth because a prison ship carrying all kinds of dangerous criminals has crashed and they all escaped. So I guess that's going to be our plot for the series, is that they have to round up all 200-something criminals that escaped. By the way, when was it decided that Bumblebee is the main Transformer now? Because I don't know, like in the early days, like in G1, he was just, you know, another member of the cast, and I think it was around the time of, I guess, the movies, the Michael Bay movies, when Bumblebee sort of became like one of the main Transformer characters. He was a main character in Animated, and of course he was one of the main characters in Transformers Prime, but I don't know, just of all the characters to pick from Transformers, Bumblebee? Really? I suppose he's the most marketable, but then again, aren't they all kind of marketable? Well, anyway, he's voiced by Will Friedle, who you might remember as his voice from Transformers Prime way at the end of the series when he actually got to talk, because for a while he was just mute, kind of like how he was in the Michael Bay movies. And I really hate to keep calling back to the Michael Bay movies, but, well, that is kind of where all this came from. At least Transformers Prime did it right. His partner is Strongarm, who is a very by-the-books police rookie. And every time something happens, she'll be like, according to Penal Code 1773, blah, 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 blah. She's one of those kinds of characters. So she follows Bumblebee through the portal, even though he told her to stay behind. But then she was like, according to the rule books, etc., 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 blah, a commanding officer must never leave the side of his ride-along, etc., etc. And so she goes with him. They also had to drag the Transformers Sideswipe along with them. They ended up having to arrest him, but then he got dragged along through the space portal, and now he's part of the main cast, I guess. And as Bumblebee stated, he's now stuck on Earth with a couple of teenagers. When they get to Earth, they meet Fix-It, who is the pilot of the prison ship that crashed. And when I first saw him, I thought we were going to have another wheelie situation. And by that, I mean both from G1 and the Michael Bay movies. They're both annoying in their own special ways. So in the first couple episodes, we got to see some of the criminals being held on the prison ships. The first one we meet is Underbite, who I guess is a Dinobot or something. But he was kind of cool. He was a great villain because his whole thing is that he devours everything. He eats cars and metal, and he just devours everything in his path. And he's also very arrogant. He's kind of like a jock, so every time he eats something and gains energy, he's like, yeah, check out my muscles! Even though he's a robot and shouldn't really have muscles. But I thought he was pretty funny anyway.
Surprisingly, Grimlock was in this show.
He was also one of the criminals being held on the prison ship, and I didn't recognize him at first. He had a completely different color scheme, and he didn't talk like Grimlock usually talks. I mean, maybe I'm just too used to Grimlock being a certain way, but I kind of liked it when he was like, me, Grimlock, I am strongest there is, and me, Grimlock, could not save Transformers 4 from mediocrity. I would also like to point out that Grimlock in this show is a Decepticon. He's always been an Autobot Dinobot, but he had the Decepticon logo on him. Although, I think at this point in time, the Decepticon and Autobot distinctions really don't mean anything, because at the end of, if this is a sequel to Prime, at the end of Prime, they kind of came to a truce, Megatron left, and I suppose Autobot and Decepticon really doesn't mean anything anymore. So of course this is Transformers, so we need our human tag-along characters. The first one we meet is Russell, who, by the standards of the meatbag sidekicks of Transformers, was pretty good. He didn't do anything stupid or anything. His dad, however, by the name of Clay, he runs a junkyard, and he's a hoarder of like collectibles and stuff. And I thought that was actually kind of funny, because I feel like this is Hasbro doing commentary on their fans. So the style was pretty good. I like the sort of cel-shaded look to all the characters. The one thing that I thought was kind of weird is that the backgrounds and a lot of other animated things in the show are two-dimensional. Like the backgrounds look very painted, like hand-painted. And there was a scene where I think Underbite was talking to a bird on a tree, thinking that he can get directions from it, and the bird was clearly 2D animated, but he was a CGI model, so that was kind of strange to see. I really, very, very clashing styles in this, although it might just take some getting used to. So what I've seen in the show so far, I really did like. Again, the style is going to take some getting used to. It would be nice to see if some of the other characters from Prime showed up, like RC or Ratchet, and we gotta have Ratchet, and he has to be voiced by Jeffrey Combs. I do have one question, however, because it has been a while, so I'm kind of wondering if Hasbro has any plans to do another G.I. Joe show. The last one we have was G.I. Joe Renegades, and that was years ago. I do hope that they haven't just let the ship sail on G.I. Joe. Me personally, I have more of an attachment to G.I. Joe than I do Transformers. I love Transformers, but G.I. Joe I remember a lot better than Transformers, because I had all the figures of that. I never really had Transformers toys. But it would be nice to see that come back in some regard. I think they're working on another movie, which the live action movies I thought were okay. They were better than the 80s movie at least. But I would like to see another series at some point, but I haven't heard anything, so I'm not going to hold my breath. So that's all I got for Transformers Robots in Disguise. Leave a comment below and let me know what you thought of it. Let me know what your favorite Transformers show is, and just tell me who your favorite Transformer is. My name is Rob, and have a wonderful day.